blessed with a championship prosperity the likes of which we have never seen, cursed by a past riddled with despair. This is Blursed.
What's up, and welcome back to Blursed, everybody. It's your boy, Hayden Cummins, back again, talking Atlanta sports with my friends here, Aaron and Blake. Ever heard of them?
Hello.
Ever heard of
Hey,
it?
guys.
Have you ever heard of us?
Atlanta sports, ever heard of it?
Right?
We hope you had
Most
a
people
safe
haven't.
and happy 4th of July. Hope you lived through the fireworks to make it back to listen to us again.
Right.
And I
man.
hope
Tuesday again. In
Tuesday, isn't it?
At least for us.
For us.
Can we just,
Yeah.
real quick, why do people shoot off fireworks on the 5th of July?
God.
Well, and why do they do
Honestly-
it? And why do they do it later on the 5th of July than they did on the 4th of July?
This is a hot button topic in my household, which obviously we have 3 dogs. Boy, don't get much sleep these days with the
No.
fireworks going off.
Yeah. Same. Living in a house with
I
two
heard it on the
dogs.
2nd of July, the 3rd of July, the 4th of July, the 5th of July.
Yeah. Second, third, fourth. Pretty much the first 5 days of the month,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
They're,
Oh,
they're
I-
mostly
I might have
illegal.
even heard them last night.
And
They're
the
illegal
worst-
like everywhere too, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. And the worst
yeah.
part is too is when 4th of July, which should be illegal to fall on a Tuesday. Like it's just the worst day to have the 4th of July. Like
Yes.
it makes it even
It is
worse.
horrible.
Just make,
Yeah,
it
'cause-
make it an observed holiday, like kind of
Yeah.
like
Yes.
Thanksgiving. We'll call it
Yeah.
the 4th of July, celebrate on like the 8th.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Please. I mean, it's not even called the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. Like it's not
Oh.
even.
Fair.
But I find myself all the time saying the 4th of July. Like I celebrate the 4th. I don't celebrate Independence Day.
Yeah.
And I
But hey, I do think that it really encapsulates what we as Americans are good at, which is being annoying as shit. I think that we're really good at that. We excel at it. We have for a long time.
I'm pretty good at
and
it.
that just continues the tradition right there.
Guys, and if there's any listeners out there still shooting off fireworks, remember, if you don't shoot them off now, you'll have more to shoot off January
Yeah.
6th.
And to that point, when we
You
were
meant New
listening
Year's,
to
right?
them on the 5th, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't understand throwing them off, or I don't understand shooting them off on the 5th because literally July 5th is the furthest away you can be from July 4th.
the furthest
All
you
year.
can be
the
all
entire
year.
year.
Yeah. So how do you
Okay.
feel about that? Do you think the calendar is always moving forward? So once you pass a day, you are now actually further away than
Yes.
you were. So I
Yeah.
don't see it that way for me.
Why?
I get that.
You can't go
I
back in
understand.
time.
No.
You can only go
You're the
forward.
furthest away from celebrating.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
I know. Well, you were technically always in the past.
I am. Yeah, I'm 2 hours behind
Hayden
at all
is.
We're in the
points.
future. We're in the East Coast is the
Boy,
future.
it's
so.
the best too for watching sports. Mountain Time is so good. Like the home run
bet.
derby last night wrapped up by like 8, I think.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I didn't
Nice.
even
Which-
watch it.
Yeah, I
It's too
didn't
late
watch
for a
it
home
either.
run.
Actually, I
derby.
wanna-
I actually don't know who won.
I want to talk
I'll be
about
honest
it.
with you.
Vladimir Guerrero
Vladimir
Jr.
did.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and ESPN had a graphic that's the second Cuban to win, but he's Dominican, and it's like
He actually has dual citizenship, but neither of those is Cuban.
Yeah.
he was born in Canada actually,
Yeah.
while his papa was playing for
For
the
Blue Jays.
Expos.
Oh, the Expo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just is like, come on, is
That
those
makes
the people you
sense.
laid off, or the people who are supposed to come up with these graphics? Because
I have seen like decrease in the quality of content that they're putting out, and it's
Yeah.
hilarious. What?
Oh
what-
yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know what their
absolutely.
business model has been like in the past 15 years, but
it's the Stephen A.
garbage.
Smith, like all the it's the arguing stuff, like
Yeah.
where it's just a hot take and let's argue. I mean, we also had layoffs. That's why we've been every other week this summer. So I mean, it's hitting everybody. You know what I mean?
It is. That's right.
So, I
and by
don't- yeah, it's-
layoffs he means laying off to the side of the camera on the couch.
yeah,
chilling.
and as everyone needs breaks in the year, summer break makes sense for us. So just hope be with us. We'll be with you every other week until football.
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 I did want to talk about the home run derby since I brought
Let's
it
do
up.
it. Yeah.
So I did watch a fair bit of it. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the last round because at some point you're just like, okay, I've seen this 10 times already.
Do you like the format now?
Hate it. Absolutely hate it. And so I think I liked it at first just because it was something different.
Mhm.
And the format being like 3 minutes per round, and you get bonuses based on if you hit multiple 440-foot home runs.
Like how many? Yeah, right.
Impressive. And that was a little bit harder to do in Seattle than it was in Colorado a couple years ago because of the elevation and humidity and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the way they film it is awful. It's awful to take it in because they don't really have a chance to show you every ball. You don't get to appreciate like the swing at all.
Yeah, because of the time. They have to hit as many as they can.
And there's different strategies. And like Randy Arozarena, who went to the finals against Vladdy last night, his strategy was, I'm going to swing as many fucking times as possible.
Just hit it.
Like every round, I was like, how is this guy which is impressive in itself, just from a cardio perspective. How he's it's like boxing kind of, but it's not something you usually do.
Rapid
in baseball.
fire swinging.
Yeah. But his strategy was just, I'm going to swing as much as possible and hope I hit a lot of home runs, which he did. But you don't get to see like the trajectory of the ball. You don't get to like I remember growing up and it was great watching the home run derby. I would stay up late in the summers.
It was something worth watching. I always enjoyed it.
And then the celebrity game would come on after that, the softball game, which was a lot of fun. But it would be the 10-out format, which I really liked.
Yes.
Maybe it's nostalgia a little bit, but
it's not. You get to appreciate every at-bat.
Every swing, because you would get like a swing of a home run, and then it would show like the slow-mo version, like on the small screen while the round's still going on. And like, there's just more appreciation. And so even ESPN's tweeting out stuff that's like, Vladdy hit 4 or I don't even know how many home runs last night. And then it was like his dad won the home run derby hitting only 27 home runs in total, which he did in the first round. Yeah, it's a different format, but like I would much rather watch that home run derby than the one last night.
Yeah.
So I think something.
I don't think that
they need to switch something up there.
I don't think that's a nostalgia thing. I actually do think it's taken away from it. I enjoyed it less, so I didn't watch it this year. I like the fact that you had 10 outs, because how awesome was it to see those clutch? Like when the person had 1 out left, just hit like 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row. And you're like, oh my God, like you just freak out. Yeah.
You don't see these guys winded. Like that's not what baseball is. It's not like a stamina sport besides pitching, I guess.
Right.
I guess it's more endurance over the course of a season, but like you don't see guys get winded in baseball unless it's like, I don't know, Daniel Vogelbach trying to go for a triple or something.
Danny Baga.
Or just tagging up at third. But
I would say like I would like to see some kind of mixture of the format. Maybe the first round is like
could
rapid
be that,
fire,
and then they go
second
to outs.
round they go to outs.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's just you just kind of see a mix of specialties, I suppose.
That would be cool.
The only highlight I saw from last night, like I said, I didn't even know who won until y'all just said it, but was that, did y'all see that kid get absolutely domed by, I mean, it was
I didn't
hilarious.
laugh immediately.
Oh, in the outfield. Yes.
So, I'll give the kid a break. It happened a couple of years ago too, and this was a meme.
Right there.
And you may have seen it because of this happening again. When Pete Alonso won back in like 2019, he hit a kid in the face like that, and they had to stop his round to go get the kid because he got hit really bad and like he was bleeding and stuff. And then it cuts back to Pete Alonso, who's staying hyped up, dancing and shit while they're like carrying this kid off the field.
Lord.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen that, go look it up. It's a sight. But yeah, I saw that kid get nailed last night. I was like, oh my God.
But hey,
I'll be honest.
That's a lesson he'll never forget, though. Okay, they say catch it with your face, right? Put it right there.
Yeah.
And he took that too literally. You
keep your eye on the ball.
Up.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
That's saying
he kept his eye on the ball. That's for sure. What did you think about Braves hitters opting out of the home run derby? Because 2 were invited.
Yeah,
and do it. What do you think?
I think both Acuna and Matt Olson were invited, which I kind of like it. It's conflicting because I would love to watch a Brave compete in and win a home run derby, which I don't know that we've seen a Brave win a home run derby in our lifetime.
No,
I don't even.
If anyone did, it would have been like Andrew Jones. But let's do the last Brave.
I would have remembered that. He may have been in it. I know Chipper did it 1 or 2 times, but he was like always out in the first round. Probably because he was one of the few guys not on steroids at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it'd be fun to watch one of our guys go out and compete and win it. And Acuna competed a couple years ago, did pretty well. But at the same time, I'm pretty happy that they didn't compete because you can see that mess with the swing. Because in BP, like when you're on the field taking batting practice, you're not trying to hit home runs. Usually you're working on your swing and like working on certain things. Largely, you're trying to hit the ball the other way, split the gap, just to like
Sure.
keep your hands in a good position, that kind of stuff. And then when you kind of get out of that routine and you start practicing for a home run derby, then you can see some technical differences in your swing that can cause issues. So Matt Olson, who just got out of a huge slump,
Right.
like for a month, and then he was hot fire for the past 2-3 weeks, leads the league. Well, leads the National League in home runs. I'm sure he kind of fell in that same camp of, I don't want to go back and fuck up my swing again.
Yeah.
I
and
just
that
got
one,
it back.
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I like seeing too. If the Braves weren't playing for anything, I would like to see a Brave in the home run derby because you want to see your team represented. But the
That's a
fact that
good
we're
point.
first place in baseball, we're
Yeah.
because I think in years past I would have wanted a Brave there, but this year I'm so fine with it not.
Yeah,
And I'm
and
looking
that's-
at the history of the Braves real quick in the home run derby. We're
Uh-oh.
bad, historically horrible in the home run derby.
Who's the last one?
No, we've never had a winner.
Oh, really?
And the most home runs we've ever hit in a home run derby was actually Ronald Acuna 2019. Before that was 12 by Freddie Freeman. And before that's tied with only 5 with Andrew Jones and Fred McGriff.
Oh, Chipper
Wow.
never did it? Or he
Chipper did it
really
3
badly?
times. The most he ever had in a home run derby was 3.
Oh
He
boy.
had 3, 2, and
Damn.
1.
That's terrible.
Gary Sheffield only hit 4. Andrew Jones only hit 5. Ozzie Mitchell Jr. only hit 2. Del Murphy hit 4.
Damn. Okay.
We're historically awful on the home run derby.
So,
Somebody's
hey,
got to do it at one
what-
point.
Hey, you guys were just are like to what you guys were just talking about, though. I mean, that bodes to the on-field success because all of those players played for very successful teams.
Oh, absolutely.
Very successful eras of the Braves, and yeah. So I mean,
Maybe we would have won more World Series if we had more home run derby
Yeah,
winners.
Exactly. And, like you said, if the Braves weren't having a good season, they might have sent somebody out to do it.
Absolutely.
Like the Mets did with Pete Alonso.
Yes,
exactly.
exactly. Because that's like the most they had to play for, and they came and win that. So
did he do poorly? Pete
Yeah,
Alonso?
He got put out in the first round by
Yeah,
he did well, but
He did well, right?
Julio Rodriguez hit 41 in the first round. So what
God.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, right. You can
Also,
do well. And then
also it's kind of this funny thing that's trending on Twitter too, because Pete Alonso, who's won the home run derby twice, could have tied the record with Ken Griffey Jr. last night. But he got put out last year by Julio Rodriguez, the young guy from Seattle, and again this year. But he didn't have his same guy pitching because he was practicing so much for it. The guy that usually throws him batting practice in the home run derby, he hurt his elbow.
Oh wow!
Wait,
so
he was practicing so much for it?
Yeah. And so like he had the guy throwing him so much BP, he hurt his arm, and he had to have a guy that he hadn't hit BP off of throw. And boy, he was very bad. And there's stuff going around online, just like, you ever seen like a pitch overlap of like pitchers that are really good? It'll show like Spencer Strider's fastball overlapped with his slider,
all the other
so you can
pitchers.
see
Right,
how
right.
hard it is to hit. They did that with the guy that was throwing him the balls last night in the home run derby, and they were just
Oh, I
like
saw that.
sprayed all over the place. It was hilarious. It was so good. But
Oh, boy.
yeah, so it was fun for different reasons last night. So some nostalgia, but I wish they would bring back a different format to really play up
just
the
make
swings.
Make it more of. For me, it's like right now, the drama's not there. If that makes sense. It's a different kind of drama. I like the suspense.
You also miss Chris Berman. Is that right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
The back
think
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a legend. But
He
I
is.
did.
he
No, I
aged
did miss
out,
that.
maybe. But yeah, so that was fresh on the mind today.
And so tonight's the All-Star game, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
tonight is the All-Star game. What did y'all think about the All-Star jerseys? I like the homage to Seattle, but I just think if you're going to do that, go the whole way. Like let them like do something really cool with the jerseys and make them kind of out there, because they're just they're navy blue and Seattle green, and they have the
Like digital
needle,
camo, right?
Yeah, they have like a digital camo. My boss came in today wearing one, and he let everyone
boy,
at
nice.
work wear any of Braves gear or any stuff they wanted to wear, which is cool. All-Star game is cool to celebrate that.
Sure.
Your boss is about to get investigated for like, what is it? Fraud?
Why is that?
What is it called? Like when you're like stealing money under the table. It's because those
Embezzling or something
jerseys
like
are
that?
embezzling.
Yeah.
There it is. I should
Nah,
know. I've been outside of Atlanta too much. I forget about like all our politicians.
I
No,
forget crime
he
terms.
makes enough money to worry about that. But yeah, it has like the
Expensive
space
jerseys.
compass on it, which I think is cool, and I think it's a good start. But like my opinion is, if you're not going to play in your normal jerseys, let's just go the whole way. Let's go the whole distance. Like let Seattle do something really cool with it. Like
Did you say space compass?
or well, they have
Space
the
Needle?
Seattle.
The
They have the
needle.
Space Needle, but it's like it's the Mariner space.
The-
It's this
the Mariner compass logo.
is what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Okay.
And I
Space
sped
compass.
I mixed Space Needle.
It always
and,
points
yeah,
towards the sun
exactly
when you're out there. Yeah.
Exactly.
At
yes.
sea?
So that's my opinion. I don't know how y'all feel about them, or maybe you like them.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I have not seen them at all.
Okay,
yeah.
let me send you a picture of them.
I guess I feel indifferent. Mostly.
And that's, I mean, I don't think they're bad. Like, I'm not trying to say they're bad. I just feel like you could go
I
further.
just miss back when they let them wear their whole their.
That's what I'm
actual
saying.
uniforms.
Yeah. Yes. And if you're not going to just do that, then let's just go. I'm
You know
just saying, let's go further.
I heard Brandon Gowden say that the other day, the Braves announcer. He said that on the air the other day, just let them wear their normal gear like they used to. But there's,
Right.
He even said on the air, like, oh, well, yeah, it's money driven. Like there's more
It
money
is
to
because
be
they can
made,
sell all
Sure.
these jerseys now. And
which
it's-
I don't know.
he's been a
Looking at-
revelation, by the way, in the
Oh,
booth
he
this
has
year,
been.
like making a
He-
huge difference. And it's also nice to hear a guy that's like, he's close to our age range. He might be like
Right.
40, but like he's still like, he's older millennial, but he gets it.
he
He
gets
does.
it. Yeah, he does.
So Blake, looking at those jerseys, I'll be honest with you, they look like what am I trying to say here? They look like if there was a Call of Duty mod for MLB.
Right, it's the
The
camo.
Show.
It's the Call of Duty camo,
And I
MLB
mean that in
All-Star
a bad
Edition.
way.
Right. I get what you're saying, and I'm with you on that. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like they were onto something, and they just kind of went like, like baseball, like very safe, very not, because they could have gone
Mhm.
really cool with it. So that was my only disappointment on that. But overall, like I do like it. We have 8 All-Stars. Super pumped about that. What are y'all okay with Bryce Elder and Strider not pitching at all?
Love it.
I
Absolutely
do.
love it.
I love it too.
It worked
Oh,
out that
absolutely.
way this year. Like we've had enough starting pitching injury with Kyle Wright and
Right.
Max Fried, and they're kind of meaningless innings. Some of these other guys that are on teams that aren't contenders, they can go throw
Yeah.
this game.
Absolutely.
Well, plus also, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they get rid of like last year, or the year before? They got rid of the whole whichever league wins gets home field advantage in the series.
Yeah,
right?
that's been done
Yeah,
for like
it's-
4 or 5 years now, I think.
Okay,
It's-
good.
It's based on the record now.
Yeah, which it always should have been. But I mean,
Yeah.
I will say that was like
it was the only thing worth
one-
playing for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It was the only thing worth playing for back then.
absolutely.
Mm.
One other question now I have for y'all is recapping. We're a little over halfway through the season. What do you think so far? Have we met expectations? Have
boy,
we?
have we.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I'm
we
curious,
have
what
not
y'all-
met expectations. We've far surpassed them. I mean, again, talking about for the first half.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I've never thought of a team like this before, but I mean, like the record is 60-29.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yep.
All right. So I've never had a team where it's actually more impressive to say the total number of games. Like, for instance, 60-29. Yeah, that blows you away. But if you say it like this, they played 89 baseball games and they've won 60 of them. I mean, that's nuts.
It's unreal. It's
That's
unreal.
absolutely crazy. I mean,
That's
to
a
win
ton of games.
2/3 of your games.
And the way you did it too, you're 30-15 at home and you're 30-14 away.
Wow.
Like that's unreal too. No, very, very rarely do you see a team just as dominant at home as they are away.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And
And I don't know, just
and they've done it through adversity. Like you sitting
Yeah.
here, if we went back to time to like April, March, and I said, "All right,
Right.
Aaron Hayden, Max Fried's going to go down this year for 2 months, and Kyle Wright's going to go down for 2 months, and we're going to have Matzik not even play this season." All these different things. Like, where do you think we'd be halfway through the season? You'd probably be like, "Well, hopefully we're battling for first, second, like
Yeah,
third,
that's what
like
I would
somewhere
say.
in the
Mhm.
mix." But no, we're the best. I mean, whether I know we don't want to jinx anything or not, but we had historically the best offensive month in the history of baseball in June.
Yeah.
Historically, the best month of baseball.
most,
God.
I mean, just look at the first half. Most home runs any team has ever hit before the All-Star break, ever,
Yep.
regardless of league. I mean, I don't know. That just
The team
speaks-
as a whole bat over 300 in the month of June, and our OPS was higher than the next highest player as a team.
Another stat to throw out there. I think it was at the actual cutoff after the last game on Sunday, before the break. I think it was that the Phillies have won like 6 out of their last 10.
Right, something great. Yeah, they've won a
The
lot.
Mets have won like 8 out of their last 10, and yet both of them lost ground to the Braves over those 10 games.
It's been going on for over a month now.
It's nuts.
It's incredible. And so I'd like to chime in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you guys haven't joined our Discord community, discord.io/BlurSports, I've said
also
it multiple
linked
times.
In all of our Twitters and everything else.
I've said multiple times in there, this might be the best Braves team that we have ever seen, which is saying something because the Braves are a winning franchise. They have that. They have that winning culture that we're going to talk about. They know how to do it. We've done it a long time. There was, not quite a dynasty in the 90s and early 2000s, but
could have been. No,
it was like
the
longest.
It
was the longest consecutive division title wins
run.
But here's the crazy part:
any sport,
but if you're outside of Atlanta fan, there's the ones. If you're a fan of other teams that win, you're like, no, the Braves didn't do. But if you're fans of teams like the Mets, you're like, dude, the Braves only had 7 losing seasons in the last 30 years. Like, it kills you how good the Braves have been, and like we take it for granted sometimes because we didn't come away with all the rings that we probably should have during that run.
Yeah,
but still, the run, you're right, the winning culture we've had, and to fall where we did and still bounce back so quickly. Yeah, it's just incredible.
I mean, you just hope that this persists through the second half, and really, really, you hope. I mean, it continues at the last week of the season, and the guys are hot at the right time because that's kind of where we fell off last year.
And I think, but I think we called it out though that it wasn't all because we went cold at the end. It was because it was that hump of beating the Mets. It was like that was the goal all season, and then once we accomplished the goal, it kind of like the wheels fell off. Whereas this season, you hear all of them. Have you, like, any interview you heard them in right now is like, we're ready to just get back and get one game at a time, one series at a time. We're gonna keep winning a series at a time. And like Snit said, they know they have to have an important conversation when they come back about what's left to achieve this year. And everything they say, including like we were talking about earlier, taking like, I'm not going to do the home run derby this year, bodes so well for the future success of this team.
I love their mentality and the way they're speaking when asked questions about that and the rest of the year. But it's because the reason I love it is that we're all so blown away with how well they've done in the first half. Problem is, none of it really matters if you fall off in the second half. I mean, yeah, sure,
Yankees
have this
year.
Historic run to win, 2/3 of your games in the first 90 games, basically. I mean, that's incredible. But if you come out and you let teams like the Marlins or the Phillies, you'd have to be really bad to let the Mets back in it. But to let those two teams get back in it and then to make it even close, I mean, I don't know. I've heard people say that maybe that needs to happen, or that it would be a good thing, maybe, to keep the Braves trying to chase something, to keep them honest, like you said. But yeah, I mean, if we go out there and just, everything is still out there to be taken. We haven't accomplished really anything.
To me, it's like UGA football, though, and the way Kirby does it, it's like this Braves team has the ring or nothing. Like, that's on their mind. Like, that's how I feel. That's what I get. Like, the vibe I'm getting from the team, not only the way they conduct themselves at interviews,
and they should feel that way.
Yes, exactly. And I think believe they're the best team in baseball. And I think that was a statement series against Tampa. You could have very easily seen us go in there and we beat them handily the first 2 games, and we didn't win the series, but
2 out of 3 on the road.
Baseball. Yes.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 on the road is nuts.
Against the other team that's been at
and
the
now
top
you're
of the power rankings.
You're 7-1 in July now. Like you're
and not to
continuing
mention
your hot streak.
The prior weekend we swept the Marlins, who were thinking they were hot shit, and like they're gonna
we embarrassed them.
Big Brother came and gave them a spanking, sent them home. So
you want to hear a crazy stat, guys? I've been keeping up with the MLB team run differential since we started getting a little hot. I was like, I want to keep up with that. Back in June, a month ago, Texas led all of baseball with 142 plus run differential. Tampa was second with 138, and the Braves were third with 68. And I was like, you know what are we at today? I just wanted to check because I've been looking and we've been pretty far behind.
Yeah,
as of today,
that's an interesting one.
Tampa is 149, so they've gone up 11. And in that month, they've only gone up 11 plus 11. Texas is 148. They've only gone up +6, and the Braves are plus 147.
Oh boy.
We've gone up plus 80 run differential in the last month to now be only 1 run behind Texas, 2 runs behind Tampa for the best run differential in baseball.
That's
And
nuts.
it's been historical what they've done.
And it's been mostly offense, right? But it can happen in multiple ways. We have pitchers that can give performances that are dominant. Even when, like, maybe that's what happened in the Tampa series. Really, the pitching came around and the hitters weren't doing as much. And so it can come in a variety of ways. We have so many guys that can hit the ball. Not all of them have to be hot at the same time. But when they all are hot at the same time, like the past month, they're unstoppable.
It's unstoppable. The Braves are ranked first in runs scored in the National League, and we're ranked first in team ERA in the National League. I know that doesn't paint the whole picture, but the fact that our whole team ERA as a whole is first with the losses we've had, I mean, kudos to the staff too and the coaching. And like you were mentioning earlier, Hayden, with the winning culture, I think a lot of it comes from like what has generated this winning culture. I think Bobby Cox started it. And I think the ownership that believe in Bobby Cox and the team. I mean, Ted Turner basically started with the Braves and the way he marketed the Braves to become America's team. Like we still are. You hear the home game in Seattle and the home game in Tampa. Well, home game in Tampa is a better example. It sounded like a Braves home game. They're playing the number one team in the AL, and the cheers were louder for any of the Braves than any of the stuff that happened for Tampa. And that has a lot to do with our original owner, Ted Turner. Ownership's gone and changed, and you've had is important leaders, though, cornerstone leaders who have stuck with the franchise for so long. Because Snit, 37 years inside the organization, like he's back Ted Turner days. And then you have Cox before him, who was the manager for 20 plus years. And I don't know. I just think that's what sustained this winning culture. And then AA gets hired, and it just. Because Braves had that legacy, though, AA wants to come work for the Braves. Sure. Same way Shohei may want to come play for the Braves next year.
Okay.
It's just
let's not get
right now.
I'm being serious. Like,
he might want to come.
He may want to. Yeah.
I'll say I would have loved to be a fly on the wall like the past 3 years to see how the leadership from the players themselves has changed. Like with Freddie. Freddie was kind of like the last old guard, really, or maybe Dansby. And you just see like a different type of connection this year between the players. So like, especially guys like Orlando Arcia that hadn't gotten a lot of playing time for us. He is so connected and in sync with Ozzy Albies. I know you guys saw the play that kind of wrapped up the first half of the season. Ozzy making a diving stop, toss it like basically behind his back to Arcia, and then he threw a guy out at first base. And that's incredible, and you can't do that unless you have a really good connection with the guy you're playing with. And you just see that. I mean, you just see the whole clubhouse. They just feel like really connected. Even like guys that I've shit on in the past, like Marcell Ozuna, he's doing his part. He got hot, and now he's helping guys figure out their
Michael
issues.
Harris,
he's
Matt
studying
Olson.
tape. Yeah. And so like he's doing
He's
more
being
than
a good
his share.
teammate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Snit was asked about a month ago, who's been the leader since Dansby left? And Snit was very honest. He said, well, there's not just one guy. He said, I'm very lucky to have a locker room full of exceptional players. And it's not just that they're exceptional players. They all have exceptional work ethic and drive, and they want to do good, and they want to be here for each other. Because you look at San Diego, they should have exceptional players. They have exceptional players. It's fallen. None of them have leadership. And then you have Juan Soto at the All-Star game comparing himself to Luka Doncic. Dude, no, Luka Doncic is like Ronald Acuna, like or Shohei Ohtani. Like, let's not. You're not even on their level.
Hey, Ronnie's got a World Series ring. Don't forget it. The Braves are not in that World Series if Ronnie doesn't go off in the first half
for the first half of the season. Absolutely. And 2 years ago to this week, that injury happened, and we still won a World Series. So, I mean, I think too that might have capped us last year. Of like, no offense to Dansby, but like just that old guard, new guard, the clash of the cultures, him maybe holding on to some things. Like, you don't have that. You haven't had that issue this year, and the fact that Marcell Ozuna has gone from not only someone that the fans dislike for various reasons and for very good reasons. I think we have some good reasons to not like the guy, but he has been an ultimate team player, an ultimate teammate, and nothing but. We don't know what he's like in his home life, but everything he's done on the field has shown that he's putting the work in and the ethic in and trying to actually make a change for the team. And that's huge. Like, that's all you can ask for out of a guy. So
I'd like to bring up a couple more things here. We have 3 legitimate MVP candidates right now, in Matt Olson, who's leading the National League in home runs and RBIs. Sean Murphy, who is exceptional. as
Yeah.
a catcher, which is very rare, and obviously Ronnie, who's leading the pack and may in the season with 80 stolen bases,
That's
which is
nuts.
crazy. And honestly, Ozzy Albies could be considered at some point
Yeah.
too if he stays hot
He's
because
so
it's incredible.
underrated.
Yeah, and what a good guy too. And then not to mention we have a legitimate Cy Young candidate in Spencer Strider, who's kind of picked up where he left off last year. He's gone through a couple ruts this season, but he still has the numbers. He's striking guys out like crazy, which it's pretty incredible. And if you look at like the impact AA has had on the franchise, two of those MVP candidates, they weren't here when AA started. He brought them in. He got them
Your
from
World
the
Series
A's,
MVP was
and
here for 90 days.
we got him
Wow.
relatively cheaply.
Oh,
If you
sorry.
look-
I was sorry. Went back in time.
Oh no, you're good. If you look at like how cheaply we got Matt Olson now, and how cheaply we got Sean Murphy, and what the players that we sent off are doing now, it's pretty incredible.
It is.
The best player right now is Christian Pache, and he doesn't even play for them. He plays for the Phillies. He's batting
Yeah,
like
he
actually
got
over
released.
300 right now.
Yeah, good for him.
So it's his best season. And the Phillies are like, look who we got for free from the Braves. And everyone's like, no, don't get that twisted. We didn't get it to you for free.
You didn't get him free from the
You got it for free
Braves.
from A's. We have Matt Olson.
Yeah.
So
Also, might have been making room for Michael Harris there.
absolutely.
Who, by the way, won Rookie of the Year last year. So.
Yeah.
And his bat over 400 for like a month. I'm sorry, I didn't want to try to interrupt you earlier when you
No, you're good.
said I was trying to look at MLB stats while listening to you at the same time, and I got distracted. But I was just thinking too, if you think back to AA getting Soler in the World Series, like he was here for 90 days and he won a World Series MVP because of the moves AA has. I don't think AA does this alone. I think SNIT has a lot to do with it too. But the leadership, and I think this is important, and I think this is what makes a winning culture is leadership, and leadership has a lot to do with continuity and just individually great leaders. And as we transition and talk about the NBA in a little bit, we can point out some staples who, like Popovich, who just got re-signed, who are just great leaders. So
Well, let's go ahead and talk about it.
are we good with baseball?
I think so.
I
I mean,
do
I
wanna
don't know
give
how
a-
else to say these Braves.
Yeah.
They're really
fuck.
good.
Yeah, it's hard to say it any other way.
Yeah.
Luis Arez, he's only batting 383 right now, so we can
Ah.
stop.
383.
So we can stop hearing the freaking 400. He's got to be the MVP. 400, 400, 400. You know what's crazy? He was batting 400 until he played the Braves, and since then it's gone down.
Mhm.
So I was tired of hearing it and then also all of his stats, like how hard he hits the ball and everything like that, show that his average should be lower. And the crazy part is it shows that Cunha is underperforming on a lot of things. Like if you look at all the advanced metrics, he's underperforming, which is just
Guy hits
That's
the ball
crazy.
so hard.
He
crazy to
does.
think about.
Also, one last item. Yeah, Max
Yeah.
Fried is making rehab starts in AAA
Yeah.
right
Right.
now. He did last Friday. He only pitched about inning and a third, I think, about 35 pitches. So he's going to work that pitch count up. But we should see him in about 3 weeks, I imagine, or a month.
Absolutely.
And so he'll be gearing up right as the season ends, and he's going to be fresh. So that bodes extremely well.
It does.
It bodes really well. Let's transition into basketball. And I'm just mentioning Greg Popovich. He signed, I think, a 5-year contract extension, making a lot of money, as he deserves. And the crazy part is, if you think about this, the Spurs haven't been good since literally Tim Duncan when they won the
Since Kawhi left.
Kawhi,
basically.
Yeah, Kawhi. Tim Duncan Kawhi was 2013, 2014, like around then, I think. Or
Yeah, I think it was a little more recent. What year did he go to Toronto and win it all there?
that was 2019.
Jeez.
So I think the year before that, the Spurs were still the Spurs.
But the last finals win they had was 2014. But I
Oh,
see what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Yes, they were. They were still pretty good. And so my point is they haven't been good for say 5 years now,
Mhm.
4 or 5 years. They just got Victor Wembanyama. But guess what they did? They stuck with their coach. And
Yeah.
they stuck with their GM through all of that. And it's been a hard rebuilding process, but you could argue they did it the right way.
Well, and I think there's a reason why they did it that way, or why they felt so confident in doing it that way. And it's
Mhm.
part of what we kind of wanted to talk about on this podcast. And that's because the Spurs have what you like to call a winning culture.
They do.
They have had one ever since Greg Popovich has been there. He's their reason for it.
Has he been there
But
for 30 years
also-
now or more?
I don't even know how long it's been. That'd
I'll
be
look
something
it
good
up.
to look up. But yeah, so I mean, if you ever want to look at like the model for how to do that, at least in the NBA and in today's modern game, it's the Spurs. And I know that may sound odd because of how bad they've been the past few years, but having a winning culture doesn't mean that you win it all every single year. right?
Exactly.
I mean, that doesn't happen ever. And on top of that, it doesn't even mean that you can't have losing seasons. You can have losing seasons and still have a winning culture, because every team needs to go through a rebuild when there's a regime change, be it from players, old guard to new, or from coaches. But it's there has to be some consistency,
Absolutely.
and he is that consistency. And I think that them getting Wembanyama and him signing that extension, I'm excited to see how the Spurs look, because
Absolutely.
I would never call myself a Spurs fan, but it's
We never root against them though. Yeah. I feel
No,
like me and you.
I love the Spurs.
Yeah. Anytime we've talked hoops and talked about Spurs, we've never said we're big Spurs fans.
He's won 5 championships, right? Since like 1999.
Yeah, so he's 5 NBA championships, 3-time coach of the year, 4-time NBA All-Star game head coach.
And a guy like that,
And he's already considered top 15 coach in the history of the NBA.
You can't let that type of person go until they want to retire or they want to leave. It's kind of like Bill Belichick. And so he's kind of been obsolete the last few years with the Patriots since Tom Brady left. But there will be a time before he retires, they will be back. They'll be good again. I'm convinced.
And you could argue it's the same thing for the Spurs right now, because a lot of people have been saying, because people have been saying this, that Popovich is washed. Popovich doesn't know what he's doing anymore. Popovich, like, that gets talked about. Like, I'm not saying it's the bulk media saying that, but that does get brought up. People are saying the same thing with Bill Belichick, but I think it's a perfect example is sometimes you just don't have the talent to succeed. But the thing is, you still have a vision. Same with AA, with the Braves. You have a vision of what you want to build. You have a plan for how you're going to get there. We hear it a lot of the Falcons, whether it's going to happen or not, we will find out this year, but you hear about a plan, a vision, and then those things have to happen. Like the things you say you're going to happen have to happen. And Popovich, throughout his entire time there, has been able to do that. And I think, the way they did it, realizing DJM has been their best player they've had since Kawhi, and they realized, you know what, he's not a guy we can build around, though, he's not the number one. Or at least
in that point.
Yeah, in that point, we're not ready. We're not ready as a team to build around a guy. And we don't have enough resources to go out there and just trade to be like competitive, because we're not going to be competing for it. And they realize that let's set it up where we'll get Victor Wembanyama, and now they have tons of picks they can trade in the future to bring in stars to build around Victor Wembanyama that they couldn't have done. And they just had a plan though, and a vision.
I would like to bring up in contrast the Milwaukee Bucks. Mm-hmm. So this past year they let go Mike Budenholzer.
Yeah.
You can call him Bud.
Coach Bud.
There it is, Bud. I like that. I can say that word, 3 letters.
Yes.
But yeah, they let him go after, what was it, 2 years after winning a championship, their first championship, I believe. And
yes, their first ever championship.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit on here. To me, it's baffling. If you think about it too, is the fact that you won a championship. The last year, I'm trying to think who won last year. Why am I blanking? Golden State won. They beat Boston. You barely lose to Boston in the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. You come back. You brought back the same group functionally, and yeah, you do lose in the first round of playoffs. But let's be honest. Your Chris Middleton missed most of the year to injury. Your second best player, Drew Holiday, played lights out all year, but he's having to do way more than he needed to early in the year, so he's pretty wiped out by the time he gets to the end of the season. And then Antetokounmpo gets hurt against Miami in that first series and missed 3 games, and you lose the series. And it's like, is that the coach's fault, or is that just bad circumstance?
That's a great point, Blake. I know that I oftentimes on here, when we're talking about Atlanta United, I come across as like hating the coach or wanting the coach to get fired, or but that's not just a knee-jerk reaction to the team doing poorly. Mm-hmm. I feel like any fan that's in any way plugged into not only their team in any given sport, but the sport itself, should be able to recognize when the team's doing poorly, mm-hmm. whether that is the coach's fault or if that is just the player's fault. You know what I mean? Or and it's never one or the other. It's a mixture. Yeah. We all know that. But you got to try to pinpoint, is it more the coach's fault, and should the coach be let go because of that? Or is it something else, as an extenuating circumstance or an outside factor that he may not have had control of, like the best player in the world going down for 3 games?
Right.
Should they have lost that series? Absolutely not. Yeah. But things like that happen. And then you have to ask yourself, as a franchise, was that Coach Bud's fault? Right. And the answer, I think, resoundingly should have been no. But that's not what they thought, and they are who employed him.
I'm thinking of another comparison now. So we went from Spurs to the Bucks, and now let's switch to the NFL, and we can look at the Eagles, who they did something similar just a little bit further down the line now when they fired Doug Peterson after about 2 years after he won the Super Bowl, which was the Eagles' first Super Bowl in a really long time. And they upset the Patriots. But yeah, and then they returned to the Super Bowl this past year after a quick turnaround rebuild thanks to Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. And so you see, like, they brought in another capable coach, and it's just hard to pull the trigger and actually kill off the coach that brought you a championship.
Yeah.
For me, that one's weird, though, the Eagles one in particular for me, because Doug Peterson, I believe, is a good coach. And I think you're seeing in Jacksonville.
Oh, absolutely. Look what
I think you're seeing Jacksonville. That one's weird. And the other thing with the Eagles is we've talked about this too. Howie Roseman, their GM they've had for 20 years, like he's been a core aspect. And maybe it's the same way. And maybe we're missing it for the Bucks. Maybe Antetokounmpo and Mike Budenholzer didn't get along. And like, if that's the case, we all know in the NBA, you're going to move your coach every time over your star, unless your coach is Eric
especially in a small
Spoelstra
market
or Popovich. Like, they can't afford to lose Antetokounmpo to free agency, because if they lose him to free, that's it. That's their. I mean, he's the only reason they won a championship. So, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's a culture thing when it comes to the coach. And that's a weird part about the NBA, where the players have a lot more, and there's very few teams that can stick it to the players, and that's Miami and the Spurs. Like, who else do you know traded Kawhi? I mean, traded Kawhi as an FU, and then Kawhi goes and wins a championship, which is so hilarious to me.
That is funny.
But it literally was an FU to Kawhi, like, all right, well, we'll send you to Canada, like, F you, man. And then I'm glad he proved him wrong, but still, like, no other team does that. They could have got way more for Kawhi. Instead, it was like, it's a bad look now, especially when they win a championship because of it. But
NBA is definitely unique in that way, because the large markets are able to draw these talented free agents and trades and play, because players have opt-outs.
Players can demand a lot more.
They have no trade clauses. Like, they can choose where they go in trades still. And the best ones, but the small market teams, if you actually get a superstar talent like Trey, for example, there are others, but if you don't hold on to that talent, you don't know when the next time you're going to get that.
Exactly.
You have to be in the top 3 picks to get that type of talent.
And you have to also be in a good draft too, because some drafts you don't ever get good players like that either. You could like, we got DeAndre Hunter at 4 in that one draft, and like, he feels more like a 15th pick.
You may not agree with this, but I think that part of the reason also is they have so much superstars in the NBA, have so much power, because of the team sports. It is the least team sport. It is the one that can be the most controlled by one person.
Because think about the history of the NBA. Like, the last team where you're like, a team won that championship is like Detroit Pistons, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'd say the Warriors, but yeah.
Well, you said the Warriors.
Yeah, I'd say the Warriors.
But the Warriors' first championship, but then they became 3 Hall of Fame players. Like,
but that's not their. I mean, that's not their fault.
It's not their fault, right? I
that.
agree. And it's a very team oriented. But when they added KD, it's more. Then it became a star thing again. But their first championship, I would say the Warriors, and their last championship, I'd probably say the Warriors. But I feel. But my point is, like, think about it from a zero superstar perspective. That Detroit Pistons team, I don't even know if they won. It was early 2000s. They did win. They won it. Like, that team, Ben Wallace, exactly. Ben Wallace, that team had no like. Are any of them Hall of Famers? Maybe Chauncey.
I don't know if any of them are, to be honest with you. Yeah, they may not be, but Chauncey.
What about Rasheed Wallace? Maybe.
And they had both Ben and Rasheed. Yeah. And I feel like
Hamilton.
One of them should
Hamilton. He was wearing the face mask.
Rip Hamilton.
Oh.
All right, so Wallace is in the Hall of Fame.
Which one?
Rasheed.
Ben Wallace.
Ben.
Oh,
really? That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, they were.
Rasheed's not.
I would have guessed Rasheed for some reason.
Yeah, me too. I always thought Rasheed was the better of the two. But yeah, I agree though. They didn't have any of those superstars like that. And you're right. So that was what, 2004?
It doesn't happen much. I'm gonna bring up the list of NBA champions real quick to see if we're missing anyone more recently. But we go this year, the Nuggets. I mean, you had the best player in the world. He's won 2 back-to-back MVPs. Should have won a third this year.
Yes.
Golden State Warriors. You had Steph Curry. He's a 4-time MVP or 3-time MVP. Like, of course, The Milwaukee Bucks, Antetokounmpo, superstar. The Lakers, you had LeBron. Raptors was literally because Golden State gets hurt, like they had hurt players, so Toronto Raptors win that series because I think Golden State should have won another one there. But that's Kawhi, another superstar. 2018 is Kevin Durant and the Warriors. 2017 Durant and the Warriors. 2016.
I don't know. I don't know.
To me, those are two
superstars. Durant and the Warriors. I think that
they don't win. They don't win. I don't think they win those championships without Kevin Durant.
No way. I don't think they do. Before KD, they won one with KD, and they won one.
They won one before, and Iguodala was the Finals MVP, and it was a 4-2.
They should have won. They basically won.
They lost to LeBron,
but the NBA took that one away.
What are you talking about?
Suspending Draymond.
Yeah, he deserved to be suspended though. If you're going to play. Do you think kicking people in the nuts in 2 different games is fine? Like just look out here, play. No, he's actually trying to hurt. It's not playing basketball. He's not playing the sport.
That's fine. That's fine. Until they actually start doing something to people like Grayson Allen. And there is one stark difference between Grayson Allen and Draymond Green.
Well, one's the finals and one's not in the finals.
One of them's green and one's white.
One of them is green.
One is green.
But yeah. But, no, I mean, the NBA certainly was like, all right, LeBron's he needs some help. So we're going to take Draymond out.
You're just saying that because you don't like LeBron, but whatever. I mean, it's the only 3-1 comeback in the history of the finals. But anyways,
and we're getting into why that is. Yeah, there's a reason it had never happened before.
Okay,
the NBA had never stepped in to do that. But regardless, they did that.
This is a horrible take. But anyways, point is, they then had to go get Kevin Durant to come back to beat LeBron. And here's my thing too: is that next year with Kevin Durant, the Cavaliers should have won the first 2 games if it's not for J.R. Smith being an idiot. And LeBron was playing without any other superstar. So point is, it's been a superstar-driven league, and the last championship that wasn't a superstar were literally the Detroit Pistons, where Chauncey Billups is your finals MVP.
If you take the Warriors out of that.
I mean, the Mavs did have J.J. Barea.
Oh, and the Mavs. Sorry. Yes. No, that's a good one. Dirk's a Hall of Fame player, but
yeah, that was an incredible run.
It's Dirk by himself. I will give you that one's more.
I think I know more about late 2000s NBA.
Yeah,
that was
I actually enjoyed watching those finals.
Yeah, those were fantastic.
But let's compare it to the Hawks. Let's talk about the Hawks real quick when it comes to culture, because this our last 15 minutes. I do want to get.
We got to talk about. They don't have any.
Well, I want to ask you a question though, Danny Ferry. Yeah. If the things don't happen for what he did, if say he chose not to say what he did and was a good man, do you think we would have had a better culture? Do you think he would have helped build a culture, a winning culture? Because
I think so. He was doing that. Yeah,
he was doing that. And so I want to say to the Hawks' credit, I felt like we were on our way there in the 2010s, and it got derailed because of a mistake. Really, just a man saying horrible things, and he deservedly got fired.
Yes.
But that got derailed. And then I think that one of your issues you had is you hired Travis Schlenk, who I believe had a clear vision. But I believe he was having a hard time selling his vision to Tony Resler and Tony Resler's son. For whatever reason that was, he couldn't sell it. I don't know why. He couldn't. And you're seeing... I mean,
this may be, not to jump in there, but just to answer that question, this may just be an oversimplification on my part.
Yeah.
But I think that we're approaching perhaps a simple answer to that question of why Travis Schlenk, started off so hot, did all the right moves, was doing what we were talking about with Danny Ferry as far as rebuilding a team and setting a winning culture up. And then all of a sudden that just seems to fizzle. I think it fizzled because Tony Resler doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
I think that has become more and more clear as this year goes through.
I agree to a point, to an extent. I think it was like that for a while. And I think since we've hired Quinn Snyder, we've made a lot of good decisions. I personally believe, since we traded for Sadiq Bey, let me say that.
Pending our next move, right?
Pending our next move. Yes, pending our next move. But 5 second-round picks for Sadiq Bey to come in here and do what he did, steal. Absolute steal. Being able to convince Quinn Snyder to sign a contract to be your head coach before every other coaching job, because he could have coached Antetokounmpo. He could have been the Bucks head coach. He could have coached Embiid. He could have he could have coached the Suns. Kevin Durant, he could have coached he could have waited, and he knew he had to know some of those jobs were going to open. He has agents. He chose to come. So Landry convinced him. How they convinced him, I don't know. They convinced him. And I also heard this too. Kyle Korver has more sway than people think he does in that front office. I think it's a good thing for us.
If that's true, that's
I'm a
good.
huge Kyle Korver fan as
Me
a player,
too.
so I hope he could translate to as a general manager. So I've heard that him and Landry kind of are more seen as equals. Like Landry's the boss, but Kyle does have sway. So we get Quinn. Then you go out, you shed John Collins' contract. Yes, it was a bad trade. Is that Landry's fault? No. We should have traded John Collins 2 years ago when his value was up high. I'm not going to blame Landry for that. I can't make better quality trades come out. That's Tony Resler's fault. I'm going to blame Tony Resler for that. Landry traded John Collins without having to package a pick with him. A lot of people thought we were going to actually have to sell a pick to get that contract off. We didn't have to do that. That's a win. Sure. Then we were able to move Alpha Kaiba, whatever his name is, who never even played for the Hawks. For 2 second-round picks, we got Ty Washington and Garuba from the Rockets, who were then able to move for 2 more picks and more cap relief when we got Patty Mills. Patty Mills may not stay on the team, but we just saved $4.5 million, all to set up potentially another move. But backtrack a little bit, you signed DJM too before he has the opportunity to opt out next year and sign a max deal for he's leaving like $60 million on the table or more. Like he could have signed a 4-year, $200 million contract worth $40 million a year with incentives to go even higher. And instead he signed a 4-year, $111 million contract with incentives that can get up to 120. Like he left a lot of money on the table. And the fact that Landry and Kyle Korver were able to pull all of these things off consecutively, I am proud of the Hawks front office. I see a vision. I see what they're doing. Will this continue? I don't know yet. I can't trust it yet.
I think for me, my take on it is obviously a little more pessimistic per usual, but it's been a mixed bag. Yeah, sure. Getting DJM locked down. I love that. Yes. And like you said, perhaps saving a good bit of money in doing that. But that leads me to my next point, the bad part of the mixed bag, which is that I see a vision. And that vision I see is saving money. Why?
If there's no other move,
what?
New yacht.
So here's a couple of things. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If we did no other moves and this is what we did, like for the rest of the year, and say we kept Patty Mills. I actually like Patty Mills. I think he's a great third guard for us.
I liked Patty Mills 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, but he's not your number 2 guard. He's your 3 guard. Like he's going to come in, shoot some threes. He's not going to be your main. Like I'm okay with that. Like I'm actually fine with having a veteran guard like Patty Mills, who's had finals experience, who has like actual playoff pedigree. That's fine with me. I'm fine with the team the way they are too. If you want to go out there and say, you know what, we want to develop our young guys more. But I want to hear that. Here's the thing though. Like if that's your vision and you think, you know what, if AJ, JJ, and OO develop, we'll be a better team in the future, then you need to move CC though. Like you got to, right now you're halfway in between. You're 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. So either you go get Siakam or you trade CC and you let OO develop and you're trying to retool that way. But help us see the vision. Because like right now, I think it's hazy. Like I think
my dad used to say in or out.
Yes, but that's true. In or out. As in or out. Don't leave the door open. In or out.
So since we have about 10 minutes left, I have a couple of questions I actually want to prompt based on winning culture, not just Hawks, but just generally in sports. So I'm going to say them both so I don't forget, because I definitely will. I'm on the cusp of it right now. That's why I keep talking. All right. 1, do you have to win a championship to officially have a winning culture? 2, how long can you be a losing team to have that winning culture like revoked, so to speak? So you win a championship and then how far past that is it like, oh, never mind, they don't have it anymore?
So if you don't mind me answering first, Aaron, to me, I don't think winning a championship first ensures that you do have a winning culture. I think a lot of times an inferior team will sometimes not luck into it, but literally just play their best ball up until winning a championship. Catch fire, yes. So I don't think winning the championship necessarily guarantees winning culture. However, I do believe a championship has to be won in order for that winning culture to maintain, because it shows you that we reached the milestone we set for ourselves. So that's every team's goal, is to win. And if you're not ever going to achieve that goal, like say you go 12-4 every year and you make it to like the NFC championship, you can never just make it out of the NFC championship, or maybe you do make it, but you lose the Super Bowl and it's like 5 years in a row. You're a great coach. And I think it could have happened in other circumstances, but the timing or whatever didn't work out. But you're a winning coach, but you don't have a winning culture because you haven't won it all yet. But to your second question, when you asked, like, at what point do you have to, if you do win, I think you have like depending on the trajectory of the team and like the storyline behind it, because you never know with injuries and stuff, like you have a good 3 to 5 year window, like to, as long as you're showing that I'm still a competitive team. Now, if you go 5 years in a row losing, then it gets a little harder. Like you have to at least show that you're developing what you're doing. And I think a lot of times the vision and the vision and the plan has to be able to be seen. And like, that's the hard part with the Hawks right now. It's hard to know what the vision and the plan is.
I think for me, so to directly answer your first question, no, I don't think you have to win a championship to install a winning culture. The way I would look at it is actually the opposite. There's a lot of ways, or I guess what I'm trying to say is there's two main ways in most sports to get a championship. You can sell out, screw yourself in the future, mortgage your future.
The Rams.
Right, and
that's what I think of.
And go straight for getting that championship that year. Damn the rest. Like you said, the Rams. Okay. But I think when it comes to setting up, that doesn't set up a winning culture. That's the other thing. You can win a championship and not have a winning culture. So to me, the way I view it is like, with the winning culture part, you're not necessarily having the goal of winning a championship. You should have the goal of setting up a winning culture, of doing the things in the front office, or if you're talking about in college, in the athletic department and the coaching staff, and on its way down, that win you ball games and that make people want to come play for you, people who are going to continue to make you, or, to make you a contender, right? So if you set that in place, the championship should come.
Absolutely.
So that to me is,
and so you can build it before you win the first championship. I do agree with that. I agree
absolutely.
with that.
You can also build it and never win a championship.
Absolutely. It's because it's the culture. It's like any office. You want a good office culture. You want a place you want to go to. Like the Braves right now, they want to play with each other. They want to be there to support each other.
So let me tell you a team that I think of when it comes to the winning culture, but haven't won one in a little bit. And this might be, I don't know. I think it's maybe been 5 or 6 years, but before that, I think it had been a long time. The Ohio State Buckeyes in college football.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of the most winning programs in our lifetime. Okay. They were a wide left kick at the stroke of midnight away from winning a national championship just this past year. I don't think anyone could say that TCU would have beaten Ohio State.
No.
In their right mind, unless every star player tripped and fell off the bus or something that night. Right. So, and even then, I don't know if they would have won. But yeah, so you look at that, and so that brings me back to my point of you can set in the winning culture and not win a championship, because Ryan Day, before him, Luke Fickell, before
do you think
him,
he inherited a winning culture
Meyer,
though?
Yeah, he certainly inherited a winning culture, but so did Urban Meyer.
Right.
The last coach to win a national championship there. He inherited Jim.
And he set them back too, though.
Yeah, he absolutely set them back. So
same with Florida. Florida hasn't even recovered.
Right. And so basically, the reason I'm saying or trying to make that point is that you can set up your winning culture, but your winning culture isn't going to make your kicker not miss that field goal at midnight.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes bad shit just happens. But and I feel like we felt that a lot here in the state of Georgia for a long time.
And to my argument, though, only against that would be like, at some point you do have to win, though, because everyone else is just going to call you frauds or shams or like, because like, you
got an example for
Ohio State's losers right now to me, because they are. But I get what you're saying, though. They do have a winning culture. Like they have, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't say they're losers. No. I mean, they lost their last football game they played.
And they lost. Based on that. But like they also have lost to Michigan the last 2 years in a row. Like if you're looking at short term, like stuff that fans be like, no, we got to beat Michigan every year. We got to do this. Like, so I think a lot of it too has to do with expectations. Like, what are the expectations you set and being able to meet those expectations? So
I think college football is kind of a weird one too, because I think it's easier to sustain, not as far as like work ethic, but like the programs that are good, that have it, they stay good for a really long time. And I'm not talking about flash in the pan, FSU. Sorry, Gigi. She loves it. But if you, but yeah, like, and then you look at teams like the Buffalo Bills in the 90s who went to 4 Super Bowls, I think.
Wagon.
But who did they run into? The Cowboys when they were like the Cowboys.
Smith,
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you just run into it. So then it's the question of like, were they a winning culture? Yeah,
and they
probably.
were.
But then like they also fell off for 15 years after that. Some of that's because of the Patriots, but you know, it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens.
If you want to hear my positive spin on things. I don't really have one for the Hawks yet. Like I said, I'm still like 50-50. I don't know what's happening. And the ownership scares me. And I'm hoping he just sells, honestly. But if you look at the Falcons, I know we've had 2 back-to-back losing seasons, but you have players. What excites me about it is that you've had players like Jesse Bates want to come play for Atlanta. I know we offered him a lot of money, but we don't normally get free agencies like Jesse Bates coming to play in Atlanta. You have Cordell Patterson, who not only talks about how much he loves playing in Atlanta, but actively is like recruiting players to come play through Twitter to come play in Atlanta. You don't see that from every team, players on every team doing that kind of stuff. And all you hear from our players is that I like art. I like what we're doing here. So it gives me hope that Atlanta is building that culture. We'll find out this year. I mean, this is your litmus test to see, all right, are they actually instilling winning values, or is it literally they just enjoy playing for the guy? Right. But I think you're seeing tendencies of a winning culture. I think those are important. I think players being happy is important. I think you want people happy at their job. And I think you also want to be able to see a plan and see, after you see the plan, because like we see Falcons plan, is it going to work? We'll find out this year. Like we know their plan is going to be run the ball a lot. And it's going to be play good defense, hopefully. Like, I mean, that seems like all the money you spent, play good defense. So with the Hawks, your plan, it looks like you're going to build a team that shoots a lot of threes and maximizes Trey's strengths. Hopefully that happens. That's what they say they're going to do. It's been a little up in the air whether it's happening or not. Now, we lost John Collins, but we may get Siakam. I mean, that would show that we're doing it. Like if we got, I mean, that's a crazy move you'd make. And I think part of winning culture too, especially in a sport like the NBA, is willing to make a risk like that. As long as you're not jeopardizing everything. And that's why the right. DJM signature to me was so important, because now if everything falls apart, you can move trade now if you needed to. God forbid, I hope that don't happen, but you could. Or now DJM is on a tradable contract. You can't trade him for 6 months, but after that time's up, a lot of people would want a player of M's caliber on that contract he's on. So
for sure,
that'd be messed up, man.
It was
he signs for a discount and then you
and he talks about loyalty and all this stuff and then you trade him. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm at the point now where I feel like Trey would actually, not this year, but Trey would be more likely to get traded than DJM if everything falls apart, just because Trey, you can maximize the money. The amount you would get back for Trey is astronomical than what you get for DJM. But right. I'm completely wrong there. And then the Braves, for example, I mean, we know they have a winning culture. You see it. I mean, you've seen the success for years. And Kirby, what he's done in Georgia, like he's instilled a winning culture. And part of it has to do with expectations. And it's making sure you have a plan and you're meeting those expectations.
I think like the example of Georgia, you can think of it like as a plateau. It's like you're starting low, right? And gradually you want to see improvement over time. And then you might reach like a plateau. And then you want to be stuck at a high enough level to like be consistent winners, but you may not ever reach the precipice.
Mark Richt, though, showed you how long you can go without winning.
Yep.
And because
he changed the program. He came in and installed a winning culture.
He did.
The problem was after about 16 years,
he couldn't meet his own threshold anymore.
Continue to meet his own expectations.
Yeah.
And he couldn't raise that bar one more step and win a championship.
And I think he could have maybe lasted even longer if he would have just kept consistently making those SEC championships and stuff like that. But he quit making them as often. And so part of that happens. But it proves to your point, maybe we never would have won a championship, but we would have kept that because it was a winning culture. And it did put Georgia back on the map, and it made us a destination where people want to play. So, I mean, I think culture is important. Look at the Ravens in football. I mean, we talk about the Patriots. I mean, you look at Miami Heat in basketball. Yeah, they haven't had they've had Jimmy Butler, but he's like a top 20 player in the league. Probably not top 10 would be seen based on this playoff run, but look what they've done. We're in the finals twice in the last 3 years with second round picks and 1 star.
The teams that can sustain winning culture through generations of players, not just through consistent good players. So like you said, the Miami Heat, Pat Riley has been there, right? Since D-Wade won. Early
D-Wade,
in the 2000s. Shaq. Yep. And then we talk about Ravens, like John Harbaugh's been there a long time now. Who else do we say? I mean, Alabama, obviously. Nick Saban.
And here's the thing. Nick Saban could probably not win a championship again for the next 4 or 5 years, but he could still win 11 games. They're not going to fire Nick Saban.
No. Don't think they'll ever fire him.
You can't.
No,
you can't.
Literally can't.
And I don't think that's going to happen. I actually think Alabama might win a championship again in the next 5 years. That seems more likely than not to me.
Oh yeah, it is definitely more likely than not.
That's what Nick Saban has instilled, because he set that foundation and that winning culture.
They won every other year for 15 years almost.
And to Hayden's point, the every other year thing, they have not faced this yet. So what a lot of people are saying is, oh, well, Georgia's the new Alabama, right? And I sure hope that that's true, and I think that it is true. But we've yet to see how Nick Saban will respond to the greatest challenge he's ever had in his coaching career, which is the
Kirby Smart?
juggernaut in the East that is UGA.
Yeah.
He's never had anything like that before.
It's
He had to
clearing-
deal with flash in the
Yeah.
pans of Auburn
Yeah.
and LSU and things like that. He's never had to deal
Sustained success.
with a sustained culture that is just like his.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if he wins it again.
Yeah.
At all.
Yep. I agree. And I don't know. I think we've hit the nail on the head here a little bit. There's not one thing that makes a culture. It's a lot of things that go into it, and it can stem from a lot of different people, but all of it matters. And
right.
I mean, I'm really do hope we do see that for the Falcons this year. I know y'all are a little more skeptical of it, but the fact that you can see a vision and plan is
you say they have a 50-50 chance at going the right way?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh,
no,
I imagined that.
No,
I said there's a 50-50 chance.
God, I hope it's better than that.
No, I would say it's less for sure.
Yeah. I just don't see
it working out in the long run. Yeah, I mean,
maybe like a 35% chance, maybe. But
I'm like a 65% chance I
just
believe in him.
I just have to keep comparing Mike Smith and Art Smith.
That's fair.
And how Mike Smith, up until this point, had done much better than Art Smith has done.
Well, he had a much better roster too. So
did he? They went 4-12 the year that the year before he took over.
Yeah, but they also had Matt Ryan.
He drafted Matt Ryan.
Yeah, an almost Hall of Fame quarterback. Crazy.
Yeah, who was fucking good in his second year too. And
I'm just saying all right. So all right.
And he had
let's
Roddy White
compare it this way. Mike Smith came in and drafted a Hall of Fame quarterback. All right.
Almost.
Art Smith came in and signed Marcus Mariota. Those are two very different things. Those are, but they're both guys that they wanted. You know, they both got their guy.
You're taking,
for
you, you're so good about taking stuff out of context and just dropping it in there and be like, well, you know, everything else consistent.
Yeah,
pretty bad. It looks pretty
bad.
And you're right. If you keep everything else consistent, it's pretty bad. But
correct.
When you add context to it, it's
bringing Mariota in is a fireable offense in my eyes.
Exactly.
That's
he
awful.
Wanted Mariota.
So bad.
But I get it. But yeah, he did want Mariota.
Yeah, he wanted Mariota after our owner made our quarterback not feel welcomed anymore in their own town.
You're right. Did he want Mariota and think that he would be the next Matt Ryan? Obviously not. No.
He wanted to. They even were going to extend Matt Ryan another year just to like get the gap better. And our owner was like, "No, we should really bring in that ball boy though."
Yeah, the rapist. I really like him. Let's get him over here.
So it's different. But I mean, I'll agree. Like, here's my thing though. If you compare him to Dan Quinn, it's night and day difference. Dan Quinn was like always just told you what you wanted to hear all the time, and like really, I never knew his vision. I never.
Well, no, that is a good point.
His defense, and the defense sucked the whole time Dan Quinn was here.
Yeah, Dan Quinn
really good at defense now though. That he's left.
And he was good before he got here too. It's crazy how that works. And
you know, it's not Mike McCarthy that's controlling that.
No.
Yeah,
he's gonna end up falling into the head coaching job with the Cowboys, isn't he? That's kind of how the Cowboys typically do it.
That's where Jerry Jones is not worried about it. He's like, no, Dan Quinn will just take over. And he's probably thinking too, like, I'm not going to have to pay Dan Quinn that much money because no one really wants Dan Quinn. Man, yeah. So anyways, Hawks fans, be on the lookout. If you haven't heard, Pascal Siakam, Spicy P, coming to Atlanta. I'm manifesting it. So, and it sounds based on everything I've read, and these are all rumors. And these aren't like your ESPN rumors. These are like people who claim they know stuff that, exactly. Lizzo rumors. We could potentially get him for a DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella, and a first. And the way that would look, would Clint Capella would go to another team, like a third team, and they would send other people to him. If that's true,
that seems really low.
I believe I remember prompting you last episode, packaging Hunter, Capella. Who do we get in return? Look at that hard-hitting NBA analysis from your boy.
And I didn't think it'd be Pascal Siakam, but it turns out people are saying the market's way less heavy on him because, one, he's hurting himself by saying, well, I wouldn't want to re-sign with anyone if they traded for me. It's like, well, Toronto wants to trade you. Like, I know you're saying I don't want to re-sign with whoever I get traded to, but Toronto doesn't want to keep you. So you can't re-sign with Toronto if they don't want to re-sign you. You know what I mean?
Right.
That doesn't that's disconnecting me. So I think that's hurting Toronto, because if they're saying that, then he can't. Other teams are going to be like, well, I don't want him for a 1-year rental. Like, I can't do that. However, the Hawks are in a position where we can trade away actual depth players who we don't want anyways, because we have people to replace them, and a first-round pick to take a gamble on Siakam for 1.5 years. And maybe you do convince him to resign if you win. Because if you do win, he's going to resign. Yeah, I just wanted to just end with the Siakam rumors and the fact that we may get him. So
Siakam damn near killed him.
Oh, there it is.
All right, everybody.
That's good.
That's gonna do it for this week.
How's no one done that yet?
So unless there's some big crazy drama that happens within the next week, we probably won't have another pod for 2 weeks. But we may have some other content. So keep an eye on Twitch.
That's
we'll
right.
Post it on our Instagram if we do it. We'll post it on the socials. So
yeah.
And remember, folks, always LeBron doesn't win that championship without the NBA. So
phooey. All right. Later, guys.
Before you go, if you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and share with your friends. If you'd like to see these mugs, all of our video podcasts are now available on YouTube, where you can like, comment, and subscribe. For more content, follow at Blursed Sports on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You can also follow us individually at Blursed Blake, at Blursed Hayden, and at @A_Kais. If you're interested in chatting with us directly, join our new Discord community by typing discord.io/BlursedSports into your browser. As always, a huge shout out to our music man, Oh No, for keeping the vibe right and laying down straight slappers every week. You can find his information in the show notes. Thanks again so much for listening, and see you next week.